Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the Pechanga Resort Casino in beautiful Temecula, California. This is boxing. This is Top Rank, presented by Hall of Fame boxing promoter Mr. Bob Arum. A huge night of fights tomorrow, July 15th, coming to you live from Temecula. This resort is incredible, the Pechanga Resort and Casino. We begin at 4 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN+. You can stay there all night long, or you can move over to the network, ESPN, beginning at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Again, a huge night of fights tomorrow, Friday, July 15th. Our featured event is a junior welterweight battle. Two undefeated, incredible fighters entering the ring. Arnold Barboza Jr. versus Danielito Zorrilla. Let's get the undercards weighed in as we begin. Our first bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the junior featherweight division. Please welcome from Anaheim, California, Pedro Salome, and his opponent from Las Vegas, Nevada, representing the Bronx, New York, Floyd Cashflow Diaz. First on the scale from Anaheim, California, Pedro Salome. 121.4 for Pedro Salome, and his opponent from Las Vegas, Nevada, representing the Bronx, New York. Please welcome Floyd Cashflow Diaz. $122.6 for Cashflow Diaz. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the junior featherweight division. From Anaheim, California, Pedro Salome. From Las Vegas, Nevada, Floyd Cashflow Diaz. This bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the junior featherweight division. 6 rounds in the junior featherweight division. Pedro Salome, Floyd Cashflow Diaz. 6 rounds in the featherweight division. Our next bout is scheduled for 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. Please welcome from Imperial Valley, California, Bernardo El Tarzan Marquez, and his opponent from St. Louis, Missouri, Stephen Big Shot Sean. First on the scale, Bernardo El Tarzan Marquez. Here we go, 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. First on the scale, Bernardo El Tarzan Marquez. 231.2 for Marquez, and his opponent from St. Louis, Missouri, Stephen Big Shot Shaw. 236.6 for Shaw. 236.6 for Big Shot Shaw. Again, this bout scheduled for 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. From Imperial Valley, California, Bernardo El Tarzan Marquez. From St. Louis, Missouri, Stephen Big Shot Shaw. 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. Here we go, 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. Bernardo El Tarzan Marquez, Stephen Big Shot Shaw, 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. Our next bout scheduled for 4 rounds in the featherweight division. Please welcome to the scale from Los Angeles, California, Victor Dinamita Saravia, and his opponent from San Diego, California, Austin Brooks. First on the scale, Victor Dinamita Saravia. 125.2 for Saravia. His opponent from San Diego, California, Austin Brooks. $125.2 for Brooks, 125.2. Again, this bout scheduled for 4 rounds in the featherweight division. From Los Angeles, California, Victor Dinamita Saravia. From San Diego, California, Austin Brooks. 4 rounds in the featherweight division. Saravia versus Brooks. 4 rounds, featherweight division. Our next bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the welterweight division. From Los Mochis, Mexico, Adrian Chinito Young. His opponent from San Diego, California, Jorge Marin Jr. First on the scale, Adrian Chinito Young. 142.6 for Adrian Chinito Young and his opponent Jorge Marin Jr. 143.2 for Jorge Marin Jr. Again, this bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the welterweight division. From Los Mochis, Mexico, Adrian Chinito Young. From San Diego, California, Jorge Marin Jr. 6 rounds in the welterweight division. Our next bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the heavyweight division. Please welcome from Del Rio, Texas, Roberto Heavy Artillery Zavala Jr. His opponent from Tulare, California, Richard Torrez Jr. First on the scale, Roberto Heavy Artillery Zavala Jr. 255.2 for Heavy Artillery Zavala Jr. His opponent from Tulare, California, Richard Torrez Jr. $224 for Richard Torrez Jr. This bout scheduled for 6 rounds in the heavyweight division. Again, 6 rounds in the heavyweight division. From Del Rio, Texas, Roberto Heavy Artillery Zavala Jr. From Tulare, California, Richard Torrez Jr. 6 rounds in the heavyweight division. Roberto Heavy Artillery Zavala Jr. Richard Torrez Jr. 6 rounds, the heavyweight division. Our next bout scheduled for 8 rounds in the lightweight division. Please welcome from León, Mexico, Jair Valtierra, and his opponent from Fontana, California, Raymond Danger Muratalla. First on the scale, Jair Valtierra. 137 on the nose, 137 for Valtierra. His opponent from Fontana, California, Raymond Danger Muratalla. 136 for Raymond Danger Muratalla. This bout scheduled for 8 rounds in the lightweight division. From León, Mexico, Jair Valtierra. From Fontana, California, Raymond Danger Muratalla. 8 rounds in the lightweight division. Valtierra, Muratalla, 8 rounds, the lightweight division. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to weigh in our main event scheduled for 10 rounds for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Junior welterweight title. A battle of two undefeated warriors. Please welcome from Toa Baja, Puerto Rico, Danielito El Zorro Zorrilla, and his opponent from South El Monte, California, Arnold Barboza Jr. First on the scale, Danielito El Zorro Zorrilla. 139.6. 139.6 for Danielito El Zorro Zorrilla. His opponent from South El Monte, California, Arnold Barboza Jr. 139.6 for Barboza Jr. 139.6. This is our main event, 10 rounds for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Junior welterweight title. From Toa Baja, Puerto Rico, Danielito El Zorro Zorrilla. From South El Monte, California, Arnold Barboza Jr. 10 rounds in the junior welterweight division. The vacant WBO Intercontinental title is on the line. This goes down tomorrow night, Friday, July 15th. Live from Pechanga Resort and Casino here in beautiful Temecula, California. The undercards begin at 4 p.m. Pacific on ESPN+, and then we move over to the network ESPN starting at 6 Pacific. As always, this is boxing, this is Top Rank. We'll see you tomorrow.